Emergency preparedness. Sheltering. There are many different types of emergencies that can occur. They can be natural or man-made. A natural disaster could be in the form of a flood, fire, hurricane, tornado, winter storm, or drought. A man-made emergency could be in the form of a hazardous chemical spill or release, a power failure, or an active intruder. It is essential to be prepared for any type of emergency by planning ahead. This program is designed to provide basic information about the concept of sheltering to protect yourself. As a public service, the Delaware County Local Emergency Planning Committee, in cooperation with Delaware County Emergency Services, presents this program as one in a series to assist the citizens of Delaware County in planning for and responding to potential emergencies. It has been written that fewer than 1 in 4 families have an emergency plan in place, although 81% fear another terrorist attack will occur. Emergency preparedness requires that each of us become familiar with common terminology. Sheltering is also referred to as shelter in place and shelter and secure. It is a term used to describe an emergency procedure during incidents where evacuation is not practical or possible. Sheltering means moving to a safe place of refuge to protect you and others from potential harm, whether a natural or man-made event. Sheltering may mean taking refuge in an interior room with few or no windows, or in a hallway. The idea is to provide a barrier between you and the potential hazardous environment associated with a chemical, biological, or radiological contaminant, or another type of emergency, such as a police action or a severe storm. Sheltering is a plan of action that will be required in specific emergency situations where evacuation may put you at greater risk. For example, you should be aware that an emergency involving hazardous chemicals can happen whether the material is in a solid, liquid, or gaseous form, and that even though you may not be able to see or smell anything, a dangerous situation may still exist. Rest assured that when sheltering or an evacuation is recommended by officials, it is a serious situation. Officials try to give as much advanced warning as possible, so the problem may not look serious at the time you are notified. Please shelter or evacuate immediately when asked to do so, because your health and well-being may be at stake. Waiting may also affect the ability of rescuers to reach you when the dangerous situation has worsened. Sheltering can occur in your home, place of business, school, or a vehicle. Keep in mind, sheltering in a vehicle is not recommended and should only be as a last resort. In a chemical emergency, the amount of protection from sheltering may vary, mainly based on the air tightness of the building and the length of time the building is exposed to a hazardous plume. Modern, energy-efficient, and weatherized homes provide the most effective air movement barrier. But even the most weather-tight home will allow some contaminated air to enter slowly. Infiltration of contaminated air into a building can be further reduced by sealing windows, doors, and vents with plastic sheeting and duct tape or painter's tape. Weather conditions can also impact the effectiveness of the amount of protection provided from sheltering. A report by the National Institute for Chemical Studies indicates that there is a substantial reduction in the exposure to a hazardous material while sheltering when compared with remaining outdoors. In deciding whether to shelter or evacuate, your local officials and emergency response leadership will consider a number of key questions before they instruct you on what to do. There are a number of questions emergency personnel will review prior to making a decision. Some of these questions are: what will people be exposed to? Spill on highway? Unknown substance? Who is going to be exposed? Is there a nearby hospital or school? How will people be exposed? Airborne contaminants? A threat to the water supply? How long will exposure last? Could there be long-term health effects to exposure? Chlorine, irritant, versus benzene, carcinogen. Was this an accidental chemical release, or was it intentional? As discussed and outlined in the LEPC Emergency Response Video Number 1, entitled Are You Prepared?, the importance of having a family emergency plan and emergency kit is stressed. Your plan should identify for family members what action or actions to take, where to go, and who to notify in the event of an emergency. Your emergency kit will provide some basic necessities to assist you in responding to a pending or actual emergency. Remember to consider special needs such as disabled persons, medications, and pets. Notification of an emergency can take a variety of forms, especially today in our age of social media. In Pennsylvania, the Emergency Alert System, EAS, is utilized during emergencies. When the EAS system is activated, radio and television programming will be interrupted and an emergency message will broadcast. It is very important to listen to the instructions. Delaware County has designated 2 primary radio stations to be part of the Emergency Alert System. They are WHYY-FM 90.9 and WMGK-FM 102.9. You should also become familiar with any additional alerting systems, such as fire sirens your individual community may utilize. The National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, now broadcasts emergency alerts for all hazards, not just adverse weather, over the National Weather Service radio frequencies. Radios with alert capabilities can be purchased at an electronics store. Radios with specific area message encoding, SAME, can be programmed to alert specifically for your area only. You may want to consider having a NOAA weather radio as part of your household emergency kit. Delaware County utilizes Delco Alert as a community warning system that notifies residents of a major crisis or emergency. Visit the Delaware County website to sign up for Delco Alert. In some cases, you will need to react before official notification is given. If you see the creek rising, hear an explosion, see a vapor cloud, detect a strong unfamiliar odor, or feel nauseous, or have a burning sensation around the eyes, you should take action to protect yourself prior to official notification. Each municipality is required to have an emergency plan. Are you aware of the plan in your community? Do you know the role you may have in an emergency? This knowledge may be helpful to you in creating your own household emergency plan. You should contact your community emergency management coordinator for more information. As citizens, you can play a vital role as the ears and eyes of the emergency management team, or as a well-informed and cooperative neighbor. For instance, providing emergency personnel with accurate information to aid their response and following the "if you see something, say something" idea of reporting suspicious activity to local law enforcement is a valuable role for every citizen. Your household emergency plan may start with a meeting of household members to discuss the possible dangers associated with emergency events and how each of you will respond to that emergency. Your emergency personnel, which include the police, fire departments, most of which are volunteer, and emergency medical services, along with municipal officials, will play a central role in every emergency. It is important that you fully cooperate with any instructions they may provide. Your plan should provide for an emergency kit, which normally contains the basic essentials to sustain yourself and each family member for at least 3 days. Your kit should include the normal essentials such as food and water, clothing, and medications, but also include specialty items for infants, the elderly, or the disabled, and for pets. While the emergency kit is not designed for long-term emergencies, it provides a quick and efficient method to help deal with sheltering for chemical or other short-term emergencies. The Delaware County Local Emergency Planning Committee has adopted sheltering as an alternative to evacuation. However, if an evacuation is necessary, you must put your family plan in effect and work with local officials in evacuating in a safe and efficient manner. The following are some examples of what is required to properly plan for and to execute a sheltering plan. While at home, choose a room in your house or apartment for your shelter. The best room to use would be one with as few windows and doors as possible. A large room, preferably with a water supply, is desirable. Something like a master bedroom that is connected to a bathroom. Ideally, for chemical events, this room should be as high in the structure as possible to avoid vapors, gases that are heavier than air, lay low to the ground, and seek low places. This guideline is different from the sheltering technique used in tornadoes and other severe weather, when shelter should be at low levels, such as basements in the home. The selected room should be equipped with a carbon monoxide detector and fire extinguisher. Close and lock all windows and exterior doors. Close windows, shades, blinds, or curtains. Turn off all fans, heating, and air conditioning systems. Close any fireplace damper. In a chemical emergency, go to an interior room above ground level with few or no windows. Bring your emergency kit. Bring pets with you. Listen to emergency radio broadcasts or television alerts for further instructions. As necessary, use plastic sheeting and duct tape or painter's tape to seal the seams around windows, doors, and vents. Remember to have a predetermined fire escape route just in case. Do not use candles. These pose not only a potential fire risk, but can use up oxygen as well. While at work, know your workplace emergency plan. Review your emergency plan at work so you will know the procedures for the facility or building and what is required of you. Your workplace plan will employ the same techniques as outlined in the While at Home section. Regarding schools, school administrators should have already adopted an emergency plan. If you are a parent, you need to become familiar with this plan and what is expected of you during an emergency situation. College students should also become aware of their school's plan to respond to various emergencies. Students will be directed by school personnel as to what action to take. Responding to your child's school may be counter to their plan and cause difficulties. Know where to reunite with your child based on the school plan. If you are in your vehicle and you are very close to your home, office, or public building, go there immediately and go inside. If you are unable to get inside a building, pull over to the side of the road. Stop your vehicle in the safest place possible. Do not drive through a vapor cloud. Turn off the engine. Close all windows and vents. If possible, seal the heating and air conditioning vent. Listen to the radio for updated advice and instructions. Stay where you are until notified that it is safe to travel. Sheltering in a vehicle is not recommended. The following are some general recommendations. When sheltering for a chemical hazard, it is suggested that you avoid sheltering in the basement or lower level in the event that the chemical is heavier than air. You should follow other acceptable practices for different types of emergencies. For example, for flooding, you would go to the highest, safest point as necessary. If required to shelter, do not leave your location until advised to do so by the local authorities. Do not use a portable generator inside the home, basement, or garage, as this can cause a high level of carbon monoxide. Check with your physician or pharmacist regarding the storing of prescription medication. The 911 operators will be busy. Please do not call 911 for non-emergency information. You will be notified. Please take advantage of the Delco Alert system to ensure you receive prompt notification in any emergency. Sheltering is designed for emergency situations that should last hours in duration, not days or weeks. Most airborne hazards where sheltering is recommended will move from an area rapidly. The key is to activate your plan and remain calm. Specific instructions will be given to you by local officials regarding what to do after the critical period passes. This may include the ventilation of the sheltering location and the vacating of the premises. Remember, ventilate and vacate. If emergency personnel decide that evacuation to a public shelter is necessary and more appropriate than sheltering in your home or workplace, you will be given specific instructions about how this is going to occur. In certain emergencies, evacuation may not be the preferred method of dealing with the emergency, since there could be additional risk inherent to exposing someone to a hazardous environment during evacuation activities. Evacuation actions will be the primary topic in the third video in the Emergency Preparedness series. The LEPC recommends that you keep up to date on changing procedures dealing with sheltering and other emergency actions. Visit the Delaware County LEPC website at lepc.org for additional information or contact your local emergency management coordinator. And as always, be prepared.